Today we're gonna dive into Freeform Studio. From there we go into the Multiangle Viewpoint. And from there we go into instant narratives to create a time-lapse animation from the images we have generated. And my name is Christopher Noelle. I'm a multimedia artist and I have so much fun working with Formas that I want to share my insights with you. Let's check out Freeform Studio in FORMAS.AI. Today we're gonna focus on transforming an empty vacant lot into a futuristic fluid architecture. I uploaded a drag and drop a picture of a vacant lot and I wanted to create something which looks like this. I had in mind to create a fluid looking architecture that is an eye catcher to be built into the vacant lot. So let's see what we need to get this done. In the first step, I created a couple of rectangular shapes by selecting them here from the left side menu bar, clicking on the object you want to create. This allows you to paint inside the canvas. As you can see, if I drag the mouse and hold it, I can simply create whatever shape I have in mind. And also, if I go back on the arrow, I can select the object and change its color. What I did first is that I recolored the four objects, and from that step on I combined them into a fluid shape. Let's see how this is done. First you select the objects of your choice, adding another one by holding Shift. Now you have all four selected. You can see that with the highlighted corners, and I want them to link to become one object which I still can change on the fly. How I do that? I click on the lower menu bar and say Link Shapes. I could also use the right button of my mouse and search for the link. I can click that. This creates a fluid shape. And if I go again here on the bottom line to the icons, I select Link Shapes, and here is the fluidity button, and you can directly see the fader from 0 to 100 allows me to change the fluidity of the objects. I keep it quite simple. Let's say I stay on 25% fluidity. Still there are my objects. If I click into them, I still can see the original shape. And the interesting thing is when you move one object and it's coming too far away from the other ones, it disconnects and I still can change its size, and by that you can start fooling around with the simple fluidity of rectangulars. As you can see, the linking creates a crossfade between all the different colors, which you still can change later on by clicking to one object and select the color, and let's say I want that to be green, and directly you can see the crossfade starts to integrate the green. So what I did with my vacant lot, I created a couple of objects all related to the squares. You can see it here. And to all these single squares, I've added double connected objects on top of it to get them as a separate object, which I can fool around with, which gonna be my windows in my later rendering. In the next step, I combined the background image of the vacant lot with my drawing, and to get that combined, go by a right click onto the selected icons and say Group. This allows you to shift an entire painting on top of a background image. In the end, it's quite good to use the background image and say Lock Selection. This will allow you to work with all the single elements on top of your background without the background moving. Additionally, I selected from my menu bar on the left side the Nodes function. The nodes allow me to click into the picture and add a simple node, and inclusive a text box. I can also add an image by upload or by making a screenshot and putting that into the box just by copy paste. And the more you describe, the better the AI knows what to do. What I also integrated is a free-painted circle. I went here for the brush and I just painted a kind of an oval shape. Now, if that looks too edgy, you can simply click it and again go on the waveline icon and smoothen the object and like that. You could also rotate it a bit. If I hold shift in the rotation process, I get 15 degrees switching. If I don't hold shift, it just allows me to rotate freehand, and by that I could simply say this is the shape of my fountain. Also adjust the resizing. I could also fill that object, but for now it's enough to just have the outline there, so the AI knows this is the water basin. Also down here on the bottom line you find the text box, and inside the text box there are 3 functions hidden. If I click on the plus on the left side, I can either add images. If I choose precise mode, I get a very precise rendering based on my text prompt and my images. And if I go on the context mode, it's a bit more like creative thinking algorithms that allow to dream a bit on. So additionally, I'm gonna write a text with architecture with unfolding 3D depth, use aluminium in indigo blue, and so on. And if I'm happy with what I've written, I go on the left side menu bar and select the generate area. If I hover over the single icons and stay a bit longer with my mouse there, it already pops up what's hidden underneath by clicking into the picture and holding the mouse pressed and shift it to the size you have in mind. If you're just finished with that, you still can grab the corners and resize that to the preferred size, and given it a bit more space on top will add more sky, even if the background picture is not complete inside my render box. So what I did, I made a couple of text prompt variations, and just to show you the differences. Now, if we take a look closer onto what I used as a prompt and how I changed the texturing of the entire object, let's take a look on the prompt and also what I changed inside the prompt to get all those different results. Here it's rippled aluminium, here it's glossy aluminium. And then you also can change additional nodes like warm lit from the inside, and also change the range of the renderings. And I insist to try out different prompts with different descriptions of the material to get a lot of different results. If I have a rendering generated which is a cool result, but it still has some parts which do not match to my vision, you can use a new render area and just use a node. And if I click in here and say this should be glass, and if I have parts of an older rendering which are already cool, I could click into that, make a screenshot and add that to my node just by going inside the text, and doing the paste command will add that part from another picture. So that's what I did. I replaced the window part with this one. What else is possible with this picture? Therefore I go back to my top left menu bar and go on the multi-angle viewpoint. The multi-angle viewpoint allows you to create different perspectives of your image, and let's say this is my picture. I simply drag and drop that. I could also add it from any folder per drag and drop into that box, and it already is loaded. On the top here you can find in which aspect ratio you want to work. It's landscape or vertical, and I keep it as it is 4:3, and by changing the 2D camera setup here I can simply redefine new perspectives, and if I like that position now I could hit generate target view, and it takes a little time of rendering and it will generate the perspective from here looking up into the architecture, and we're gonna see how that will look like. Also good to know, inside the settings you can change the lens of your camera. You can also change the projection style from vertical perspective to one-point perspective to fisheye to panorama or to orthographic. You can also use the weather conditions and change them to clear, to sunny, to cloudy, to rainy, to snowy, to stormy, or keep it unchanged. And you can also change the time of the day and so on. This is my first target result. If you generate a couple of different target results, it will add a row of them next to each other, and that looks already quite cool. But I could switch to the angle control, and here you have a 3D box that simulates the perspective, rotation, and also in the vertical axis, which you can use to generate different perspectives. So you have either the target camera or the angle control, and additionally you could also generate a point cloud from your rendering, but that's another chapter. So if I go on the thumbs here, it's also good to know if I click on the mini thumb on the top right, I can compare the old version and the new version. It directly shows me this was the perspective I was creating, and this is the final result. Let's say you have finished with 5 different perspectives. Now you jump into the Instant Narratives editor to create a time-lapse animation from your stills. So I'm here in Instant Narratives, and I have already animated 2 of the time-lapse versions, and I'm gonna add another one. I'll just simply drag and drop one which I have already prepared. And if I go here inside the box, I can use different settings. Depending on what I want, I can extend that to 10 seconds or choose 5 seconds. If I'm in the production studio, I could also change to the Pro version, and then it's switching to 1080p, which means full HD. For my case, this is now enough, and I want to create a 10-second animation. And inside the text box, I'm gonna write what the camera should do.
Camera moves to the ground view and shows a different new perspective.
Now I hit the key generate video, which costs me 140 credits. And the same I'm gonna do in between these pictures. Here 5 seconds are enough.
Morph to the new position.
And hit enter. This process, depending on your settings, might take a while. In my case, that was about 1.5 minutes waiting for the results. And once they are there, my 4 videos, I can hit the lower key in the center on generate narrative. And when I hover over this and stay with my mouse in here, it already tells me generate video between frames first, then combining them into a sequence. If I want to create a seamless loop, I would add another frame here in the end and use the same picture as from the very first beginning to create a seamless loop, which then morphs from the last picture to the first picture. So let's see what the generate narrative looks like in the end.